Have you ever wanted real history on your tabletop? Reliving knight clashes, archers, and battle axes? And what if all of that took a literal army to make? Well, today, that all comes true. Welcome to the most historically preserving and utterly ruthless strategy game ever created, covering 10 centuries of medieval combat sprawled out on the most old-world, rustic-looking map England has ever seen, where every move can turn the tide and no strategy survives first contact with the enemy. It's a historical march through time, and I can't wait to show you. Have you ever wanted a glass of water? You guys seen this new hype thing for YouTube? You just load the app and then swipe to the right. Give it a try. Just... Hey Leets, I'm Pones Jones, hacker turned board game hacker, and currently we're living in medieval times. The most realistic, cutthroat medieval times to ever grace a Risk board, and you'll never guess why. In this video, we answer these 3 questions. What is this Risk medieval game all about? Does it actually preserve history while being unpredictably savage? And why did it take 1,000 plus people to make this game happen? Oh, and should you get one? Run it. Up to 5 players kick off the 5th century in the most realistic, historically preserving Risk game ever created. England is split into 5 regions, 42 territories, 6 ocean routes, with 2 islands. Players conquer territories from each other using their 1, 5, and 10 troop units. Regular gameplay follows classic Risk, except for the setup, buying troops, quests, and power cards. Normally in Risk, you get a certain number of troops to place on territories you were dealt at the start of the game. Not here. The territories are still dealt, but the only troops you get are the number of stars on the card. It makes for a curious beginning of the game. Players start the game with 2 quests and 2 power cards. Quests vary in difficulty and reward, and are differing combinations of conquering mismatched lands. And then we get to the power cards. More fitting to call them event cards, actually, where at the end of a turn, players may reveal one or both of their starting unseen power cards, and immediately act on its directions. Anything from troop losses and gains, weather changes, and when comparing dice, like in classic Risk combat, you can drop a possible sneaky battle boost. The game ebbs and flows because of these power cards. Players snag a territory card for every territory they conquer -1, and cash out their stars for troop payouts whenever they want. The gameplay is what you'd expect from Risk, but these ocean sea routes and islands really shake things up, giving an unexpected backdoor. It reminds me of the Game of Thrones Risk in a big way. The inability for players to pull one of those Australia camping moves. Turns march down this century tracker, heading from 5th to 15th, punctuated by dice rolls, forcing you to match the barrier to continue. And with the century tracker, games can be as short as 15 individual turns. At 5 minutes a turn, that's an hour and 15 minutes. An hour and 15 minutes to own England, or grab the most territories before the end of the 15th century. I'm sure you've seen all these red stitch boxes around the game. English Heritage cares from over 400 historical monuments, buildings, and places. Through these, we bring the story of England to life for over 10 million visitors each year. I love history. From the battles, the way people lived, the major world events, I'm literally covered in it. These English Heritage people are legit, and I'm honored to have helped with this unique Risk purchase. But what is even more wild is that over 1,000 people were part of making this very game. See, English Heritage upkeeps various historical sites around England, one of which is Battle Abbey at Hastings in East Sussex, which is where thousands of people gather every year to reenact the Battle of Hastings, England's most famous battle, where William the Conqueror defeated King Harold II, leading to the Norman conquest of England. And the reenactment images are everywhere on the box. They're all over the cards. As far as I can tell, most of these images are from the 1066 Battle of Hastings reenactment. There are a handful of images from other reenactments on here that I just could not find. So if anyone knows or was part of these, I would love to hear about it. But if you're only here for the Risk game, then there's some teeny tiny issues. I found them. I'm a hacker, remember? The diagram on page 8 shows troop cash-in for 5 stars, but points to 4 stars. The dice barrier explanation is muddy. It sounds like every square touching the dice must roll, even if you've already passed them. Also, since each century is a single player's turn, there should be dice before the last one. By the 14th, everyone knows when the game ends, and the last 2 players just go kamikaze ham crazy to grab land. Also, if you play 5 players and roll correctly all the way down the counter, you only get 3 turns each. What? Like classic Risk, the last player still faces turn order disadvantages. I cover this in other Risk videos. This game gives them the 1 or 2 territory cards that are left over at the beginning, but it's still not enough to even the score. Some of the power card explanations are way too vague, and the hacker in me is just lose all but 1 troop from one of your territories. Okay, so I'll just target a territory of mine that only has 1 troop, and we're done. This suffers from a common Risk problem where territories are too small. They get really small in the middle and one microscopic one way up top. If they were to have turned the board frame just a tiny bit, they could have zoomed in and solved most of these problems. So far, we've answered what this Risk medieval game is all about, how it actually preserves history, and why it took 1,000 plus people to get this game made. So, our final question. Should you get one? First off, if you like classic Risk, this game is going to work well for you, and the cards and the unique setup keep the game reasonably fresh. The map is gorgeous and the troops are spot on, but actually, there's more. Because Risk is not the only game trying to help preserve England's history. Oh, and if this one is out of stock, hit that wish list button so they know they need to run another print. England's history may just depend on it. If you loved this video, then you're gonna love my backlog, and right here is your most recommended video.